Welcome back to Newsroom. I'm Chella Smith. This is your Middle East U.S. entertainment news on YouTube. I air on Fridays, and I bring you the latest on reforms in economics Iraq based on reports put out by the Middle East news media outlets. I do this weekly review, and it's based off my interests. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Last week, we talked about oil and gas laws, international law, and their instructions, and also the Sinjar Agreement. Let's take a look at this week's headlines. Al-Farat News reports Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani outlines the next step of his government in the next stages. In this speech during the Arab-Chinese summit, al-Sudani says, "I would like to commend the importance of holding this summit, which comes within the deep understanding of the international arena, so that way we can adopt a balanced and complementary foreign policy that serves the interest of our people and countries and promotes stability and prosperity. Iraq support all efforts aimed at strengthening the steady relations of cooperations and friendships between Arab countries and China." He indicates that this summit is an opportunity for economic integration in our regions by strengthening cooperations with China and benefiting from the Chinese experiences in various fields without forgetting the experiences of combating poverty and epidemics, developing agricultures and saltwater, and efforts to combating desertification, noting that Iraq is associated with China with long-standing relations, has taken a growing amount of interest in development over the past years at a governmental and popular level. He stressed that Iraq is looking forward to strengthening partnerships within the Belt and Road Initiative and within the field of investment, energy, and infrastructure projects, noting that our steps in the next phase will focus on a number of areas, including first, the development of economy and providing services. He says, "I invite you to open up the economy to Iraq, as it represents a promising environment for investments and has important human and material success ingredients. Second, not allowing Iraq to be based or a corridor for aggression against neighboring countries. We reject at the same time the aggression on our lands, and everyone must respect Iraq's sovereignty." Al-Sudani stated, "Our country was subjected to brutal terrorist attacks, which threatened the entire world. But the Iraqis stood in the self-defense, the region, and the world, and made great sacrifices and dear blood, and victory was achieved. We know that the countries of the region and the world will not forget our honorable battle, and we stand with us in the Renaissance with gratitude and loyalty. Third, our region is the heart of the world and a link between the continents of Asia, Africa, and Europe. It occupies a distinguished strategic position in the field of energy. Iraq is in the center of the region historically and culturally, and among the most important oil exporting countries in the world. Therefore, we affirm our keenness on the stability of the global economic system through our role as founding members of OPEC, and we aim with our partners to achieve stability in oil productions and prices in a way that achieve the balanced interest of the producers and consumers. Fourth, we affirm Iraq's steadfast and principled commitments in standing by the Palestinian people and its defense of its rights to its national states, with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital. The Prime Minister noted that our regions represent an increasing weight in the changing world, and together we must shape our future in it in a way that achieves our positive openness to all friends on one hand and our insistence of imposing respect for our values and privacy on another hand." He continued, "We extend our hand of brotherhood to our brothers, neighbors, and friends, and we cherish our open relations with the countries of the West and East on the basis of common interest." Shafak News reports Saturday that the Iraqi parliament voted to grant competence to the Minister of Construction, Housing, Municipality, and Public Works, Bankan Abdul Rakhani, and the Minister of Nazar Mohammed Saeed Ahmadi. Shafak News agency reporter said that Parliament held its session headed by Mohammed al-Habasi, Speaker of Parliament, after the completion of a legal quorum in the presence of 208 members. A statement issued by the Media Department of the House of Representatives stated that the absolute majority voted to grant confidence to the two ministers, and thus the ministerial cabinet of the current federal government headed by Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani has been completed. Economics Alphabet News reports the Parliamentary Finance Committee reveals a procedure for the Central Bank of Iraq to stabilize the exchange rate of the dollar in the local markets. Committee member Mustafa al-Karawi told Alphabet News Agency, the rise in the dollar exchange rate is due to the recent central bank measures of closing outlets and preventing the sales of currency to some private banks, which reduce the presence of hard currency in the markets. He added that from this week, sales to the outlets will increase, and after we contracted the governor of the central bank, he assures us that the exchange rate situation will stabilize in the next weeks and the dollar will return to its normal position from $14.80 or $14.70 to the dollar. Economists attributes that the recent rise in the exchange rate of the dollar in the local markets to the central bank, stopping 14 banks from entering the currency auctions behind the rise in the dollar price in the local markets. Baghdad Magazine News reports the U.S. ambassador to Iraq, Alena Romanovsky, confirms the support for anti-corruption measures in Iraq, and the Treasury Office is working with the Central Bank of Iraq to support and strengthening the banking system. Baghdad Magazine News reports the Central Bank of Iraq denies the U.S. Federal Reserve's intentions to punish some Iraqi banks. An authorized source in the Central Bank of Iraq confirmed to official news agency, which was followed up by Magazine News on Thursday, that this news, which threatens the reputation of the banking sector and the business sector in Iraq, is untrue. The Central Bank of Iraq calls on those who transmit the news to exercise caution by transmitting inaccurate information, stressing that all Iraqi banks are in compliance with the laws and instructions issued by the central bank, especially those related to combating money laundering and terrorist financing. Baghdad Magazine News reports the Finance Committee in the House of Representatives the amount of financial resources deposited into accounts of the Iraqi-Chinese Agreement project. Committee member Moeen Al-Kazemi says that the financial resources that have accumulated after depositing them into the accounts of the Chinese Agreement project that was established according to the annex is the cooperation agreements between Iraq and China, in which the revenues from exports of 100,000 barrels per day of Iraqi crude oil exporting to China are deposited, amounting to $3 billion, indicating that these funds are allocated to the projects of the Chinese agreement. Economics Alphabet News reports Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani receives Wednesday the delegations of the International Monetary Fund headed by the resident representative of the fund in Iraq, Mr. Ghazi Sheikh al-Sudani, stressed during the meeting, according to the statement issued by the office on Thursday, that the importance of strengthening aspects of joint cooperation between Iraq and the fund's development program and supporting the path of empowering the Iraqi economy. The IMF support for the economic reforms approach adopted by the government was also discussed, as well as the cooperation in the fields of reforming and developing the Iraqi banking sector and supporting Iraq's effort to combating corruption. Baghdad Magazine News reports the World Bank confirms Wednesday that the Iraqi economy is witnessing a significant growth of 10.5%, while referring to the increasing and productivity of non-oil sector in Iraq. The bank said that the Iraqi economy is witnessing a significant growth that reached 10.5% during the first half of the year 2022, compared to the growth rate that reached 2.8% in 2021, noting that the high rate of oil productions and exports quantities and global prices has a major role in the increase, in addition to increasing the productivity of non-oil sectors in Iraq. He added that the increase in the public revenues represent an important opportunity that supports the future prospects of the Iraqi economy towards diversifying the economy and increasing the contributions of non-oil sectors to the gross domestic products, explaining that despite the favorable development opportunities in Iraq, the Iraqi economy is still suffering from problems. Many are looking for urgent solutions to sustain resilience and economic growth, including the water crisis and climate changes. While the Central Bank of Iraq affirms its monetary policy seeks to achieve stability and economic growth by using various monetary policy tools, both traditional and unconventional, noting that its various initiatives, whose amount exceeds 18 trillion dinars, contributes to providing appropriate financing on soft terms for many projects, small, medium, and large, to support the private sector and economic diversification, including the amount of 1 trillion dinars to finance the purchase of renewable energy systems for individuals and projects. And you've been watching Newsroom Weekly Review. I'm Chelsea Smith, your Middle East U.S. entertainment news on reforms and economics Iraq. I bring you the latest Dinar news without having to keep up with all the different outlets. I'm here on YouTube every Friday, so don't forget to subscribe and turn those notification bells on. If you like my content, give me a thumbs up. If you really like my content, you can always leave a super thanks. Again, thank you for being a subscriber, and thank you for visiting Newsroom Chelsea Smith on YouTube, your trusted Dinar source. Take care.